Welcome to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, mindset coach and imposter syndrome expert, and I'm here to tell you that imposter syndrome isn't a life sentence. It's just a dysfunctional way of thinking. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. Time to kick your inner imposter to the curb and create life-changing results for you and your clients. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, imposter syndrome expert, and today we have a very special guest on. It is my client, Jessie, and she is a self-care coach who specializes in human design. Jessie and I actually worked together in a group program that I ran at the beginning of 2020, and it's so funny because I often talk about that group program like I was terrified when I did it. It was very early on when I actually started to see some success in my business, and she was one of 3 people who joined, and we just had such an amazing time in that container. But I was so anxious every night before doing it. I was working my full-time job, and we would have the calls on Wednesday evenings at like 8 o'clock. And leading up until then, I would be so anxious, so nervous, but the girls were amazing inside, and she was one of them. And then we actually worked together one-on-one. And then she had her second child because literally 2 people in the group that I ran became pregnant. And I think I have a magic touch because there are a couple other clients who I've worked with that as we were working together, they got pregnant. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But anyway, so she got pregnant and then she kept up with me and decided to join the Worthy Woman Method. So you're going to hear her talk about how much she loves the Worthy Woman Method, the specific things that she loves about it, and what has changed for her since joining the Worthy Woman. We're also going to go into what human design is, how to get your human design, how can it benefit you as a business owner, how it relates to imposter syndrome. This episode really just scrapes the surface of what you can figure out about your design, because honestly, I was blown away when her and I had our reading together. I was like, I believe in you. I am purchasing a session. Let's fucking do this. And the session was mind-blowing. I just felt so confirmed and validated, and a lot of things that I thought were just abnormal on my end were actually a part of my human design. It was so specific, and then she sent me the most amazing workbook at the end of it that was so detailed and really actually showed me what to do with my design, because I've had other readings before and they weren't really clear on what do I do now that I know what my design is. And I am a generator, and you're going to hear that I think on the podcast. She also talks about what her design is, but this is just a really good episode for you to learn a little bit about it and then maybe even book in an amazing reading with her. So again, you're going to hear about the Worthy Woman Method. You are going to hear about human design. And just a reminder that next month, the beginning of November, we are opening the doors again for the Worthy Woman Method. And this is the last enrollment of the year. This is my lifetime mindset group coaching program. The Worthy Woman Method is a lifetime access group coaching program that helps coaches and service providers consistently and effortlessly overcome imposter syndrome and mindset blocks, strengthen their CEO mindset, and regulate their nervous system so they can feel stable and secure within their online business. Because there are not enough mindset programs out there for entrepreneurs that specifically focus on helping you feel safe, giving you the room to overcome those blocks that come up, because you can have all of the strategy, but if your thoughts and your feelings do not support you on this journey, you are going to go nowhere real fast. And this is a lifetime access group coaching container. You get access to weekly hot seat coaching calls. You get access to a resource portal with so many amazing trainings and meditations and hypnosises and all the stuff that we actually talk about in this episode, how robust the actual client portal is, and just the fact that it's a lifetime program and lifetime support for you and your mind, because that is the most important piece of your business. It's what keeps you going, and you need to take care of it. And we do that inside of the Worthy Woman Method. So you can go to the link in my show notes and jump on the wait list and be there and save $222 when we reopen the doors in the beginning of November. So I'll see you there. And now, without further ado, my podcast episode with Jessie-Jones Gibson, who is a self-care coach and a human design expert. Hello, and thank you so much for being here today, Jessie. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jill. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And we were actually just talking about how we have the same necklace on because for the new people in the Worthy Woman, I sent them astrology necklaces, and yours is a Sagittarius, right?
That's right. I love it.
Yes.
It's
Isn't it so cute? Oh my God, I love them. Yes.
It's got two sides. Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, it does have two sides.
It has the constellation on one side, and then mine has the centaur on the other for Sagittarius.
I did not realize that was the constellation. I was just like, oh, diamonds, pretty. I didn't realize it was the constellations. Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, amazing. Okay, so everybody, we are talking to Jessie today, and she is a human design expert. But first, I want to talk about, first of all, who are you? And you joined the Worthy Woman. So first, tell everybody who you are, first and foremost.
So I am Jessie Gibson-Jones. I am a self-care coach. I teach people about how to incorporate rituals into their lives to really take self-care up to the next level, feel their best. And I really hone in on human design and how we can use our unique human designs to incorporate these rituals so that we're living in the best alignment so that we can show up the best in our businesses.
So good. I love that. And guys, I had a reading and it was amazing. I learned so much about myself. And then on top of that, she sent me this like guidebook that was just like next level. Like there's so many pages and it's so specific. And it's so crazy because when you and I had our reading, I was just like flabbergasted because it just like explained a lot of things about me and how I acted and how I felt and the things that I was thinking. It was really specific and really wild. So we're going to talk about the readings and all that stuff a little bit later in the episode. But first, I want to talk about the Worthy Woman. So you and I worked together back in the beginning of 2020. You were in a small group that I did, and then you and I worked together one-on-one, and now you're here in the Worthy Woman method. So tell me about why you joined the Worthy Woman method.
Yes. Well, first of all, if it's not obvious, like I'm just a Jill junkie. Like I love everything that you make. I listen to all your podcast episodes. I love following you on Instagram and I love working with you. Our energy together. Like I just love the way that you inspire me and the way that you get me motivated and the way that you get me. We have such a good coaching relationship, better than I've ever had with anybody else. So of course, when I heard about the Worthy Woman method and heard that it's a lifetime group coaching program, I was like, shut the front door. Like this is happening. I have to find a way to get in. But my biggest motivator for really wanting to join this round specifically is I've kind of been going like through a bunch of transitions in 2021. Like I'm going back to school because I'm trying to get everything ready so I can apply to nursing school and eventually become a nurse practitioner. But like right now I'm in school part-time. I have two small children and I really wanted to be working on my business, but I couldn't get everything lined up right. You know, like sometimes you just need a little bit of help outside yourself. And I knew that needed to happen. Like I needed a kick in the ass to get going on that because I couldn't figure out why I wasn't just making it happen. So when you announced that you were opening the doors, I jumped on the wait list. We had that sales call and I had to really get on board and you helped talk me through that so well, like you always do. But yeah, I think I just needed the belief in my business and the belief that I do have something worthwhile to offer and that any time that I feel like is a good time can be a good time. So I am so thrilled to be here. It's been one of the better decisions that I've made this year. Probably the best decision I've made this year.
Oh my God. I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you decided to jump in because I do know it was kind of like a last minute thing. You like weren't really sure. And then you were like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm going to do it. Yes. I'm pretty sure you jumped in like literally the day after the cart closed.
I did. Thank you for not kicking me out.
I would never.
I'm going to ask forgiveness instead of permission because I don't want her to tell me no.
I was like, and that's why, guys, you hold out into the very last second even more because like you never know who could jump in. So I was so happy to see that. So what do you love about the Worthy Woman method and how is it different?
Really quickly, I will just say that like I used my human design authority to make that decision. And then I used my brain to try to talk me out of it. And then I was like, no, like I know my truth. And I said I was going to start going with that. So I had to follow my emotional authority and jump in the group. And I'm so glad I did. So first of all, I love access to you weekly for coaching. I think it's just such an amazing concept that you have in the Worthy Woman method where you join and then you get access to Jill, like hot seat coaching forever. Like that's just like, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around, but that is just such a cool thing that you offer. And then, so obviously I love the coaching calls. I love all of the resources. There's so much. The podcast, I listen to it all the time, the Worthy Woman podcast. I love all the meditations. I love the breath work and the Reiki. It's just so good. And then of course there's like all the trainings in there. I didn't even realize on one of our last calls where I was talking about doing some inner child work and you were like, there's a training on that. And I'm like, of course there is. Like the vault is just so robust. So I went in and I did do the inner child training in there and it's just so good. Like the reparenting worksheet and everything. So just the amount of resources is a little bit mind blowing. It's so much.
Yeah, there's actually like a ton of things in there that I sometimes forget. And then I have to like go in and be like, holy shit, there's actually like a ton of stuff in there in terms of even like business concepts, but from like a mindset perspective, which I think is really important because that's all this is just us coaching ourselves to show up and share what we're here to do and people opting in. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And lastly, talking about the Worthy Woman, what mindset shifts have you had since working with me in general? What business stuff has happened? Like, what do you think people can expect when they come into this container?
So I will say that one of the immediate mindset shifts when I joined Worthy Woman Method is I was having such a hard time showing up on Instagram and saying the things that I wanted to say because I had had bad advice in the past from a previous coach who was like, you don't need to have a business Instagram. You need to use your personal Instagram because you have more followers. And of course, like followers were everything. When I first started, I had all this belief that it was all about the numbers and the audience and had no belief in myself. So I just was like, okay, cool. I'll just use my personal Instagram. Well, I had a lot of worry about how my aunts and uncles and cousins and past professors were going to perceive me when I started talking about all this woo stuff. I was really going to have to come out of like the woo closet in front of all these people. And I didn't realize how much that was holding me back from sharing the important message that I have about human design, because I was worried all those people who obviously, they're not there to look at pictures of my kids. They're not there to find out about my business. I was doing a disservice to the people who do want to learn about human design and could benefit from hearing that information by not sharing because I was worried about what everyone else was going to think. And you were just like, that is your sacred space. You are in control of that. You get to choose who you allow in, and you can just go in and remove people. And I literally, like the very next day, went in and removed over 40 followers. And I went ahead and started a personal page. So I was like, okay, like Aunt Sally, you can come and look at the kids over here. And then I posted about it and was like, if you do want to leave, please do. So, man, I have felt so much freedom in posting just since that one tiny thing, like that one shift. I had no idea how much that was holding me back, but I overanalyzed every single thing that I said on stories and in my feed to the point of like it being painful because of that. And I didn't realize that was going on until I said it out loud, and then you kind of reframed it for me. And so that alone has just been pure gold. But so many other things, like just like I said, when I first started, I worked with 2 or 3 different coaches before I found you, Jill. I had no belief in myself. I was just looking for the magic sauce that was going to make me successful. I did like the boss babe thing for a while. Every coach I had, you can go back in my Instagram feed and almost see who I was working with at what time, because I just kind of mimicked everything that they said, or I would just implement everything that they did, or I would try to embody what they were doing. And my coaches, of course, were like manifesting generators, and my energy doesn't work that way. I know that now. But I was just trying to do all these things that were not in alignment for me at all. And of course they felt horrible, but I had no idea how to show up because I didn't believe in myself. I felt this calling and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to be in this online space, but there was just so much. so much holding me back. I had a horrible inner critic that you helped me really rename her. I call her out on a daily basis now. That one thing alone has been huge. So, I mean, if I were to list all the ways that you have helped me, we'd be here for a long time. But I'm finally at a place in my business and life where I feel like, I mean, every day is not perfect, obviously, but I feel like I have so many good tools to bring me back to center, to help calm down my nervous system, and to remember that I am fucking powerful and I feel called to this for a reason. And it's okay that I want to make money in my business. And that just keeps me showing up every day.
And like, it is palpable, the shift in your energy ever since we had that first conversation. It was like the first time you were in there and I was like, fuck that. Like, you're not speaking to those people who are just there to see your kids and stuff like that. Like, this is about you and like what you're hoping to create. And ever since then, you started showing up so powerfully. And then you had like a ton of interest for your sessions that you like weren't even ready for. And I was like, there you go, because you just said, I do human design. And everybody loves that stuff.
Yes, I was so blown away by that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was not. And that is why I was like, you need to join the Worthy Woman, because I know there's something there. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm so happy to have you in there. So let's talk about human design next. So can you give us a little bit of a short rundown? First, how to get your human design, and second of all, what the different types are.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. It's funny, Jill, because I had never heard about human design before until I joined that mastermind with you the first round. And you were like, what's your human design, everybody? And I was like, I don't know. So I went and like looked mine up afterwards and it was fucking life-changing. So I have to credit that to you. Who knows where we would be without that. So anyone can find out your type and get your body graph for free by going to mybodygraph.com. You do need to know your birth date, your birth time, and the location where you were born. So the birth time can be tricky. If you're not familiar with that, then you may need to like look at your birth certificate or call your mom or like do some further investigating. But you do have to know the hour and the minute that you were born to get your accurate chart. It's not like in astrology where you can still get your sun sign. You really do need to know all the details. So mybodygraph.com, you can grab that for free and you can just find out what your type and your authority and your strategy are. Those are the main three things that you need to know. So there's 4 main types in human design, 4 different energy types. And then there's a subtype. I know managers don't like to be called this. There's a subtype of generators called manifesting generators. And they are their own type, but they are a special flavor of generator. So I will include them as well. So let me divide it a little bit before I get into it. There's the energy types and the non-energy types. So manifestors are a non-energy type, but they are the type that has an activated manifesting center, which is the throat center. They are here to manifest things in the physical world. So they are like people who can bring things into action. They don't need the energy because they initiate everyone else around them into action. And for manifestors, their strategy is to inform. So they are here to bring ideas into the world, to inform others, and then to initiate those others into action. The other 2 energy types are projectors. They have no activated sacral. They don't make their own energy. Their strategy actually is to wait for an invitation. So they are designed usually to do one thing pretty well or to master one thing while they're here. So they have to be patient in learning their gifts and learning to recognize themselves, and then in waiting for recognition and invitation from others, and then using their authority to accept invitations that are correct for them. Reflectors are the other non-energy type. They are a small percentage of the population. They are a really interesting type. They have completely open energy centers. Their whole chart is open, and their inner authority actually comes from the lunar cycle. It's really cool. They are very in tune with the environment, and they're really good at reflecting other people's energies back to them. So they are excellent at understanding like who's authentic and who is making good progress and who is in alignment and who isn't. So reflectors are really cool. They're about 1% of the population. And then the 2 types of generators. So both types of generators have a defined sacral center. Sacral is where the life force energy comes from. And you have your pure generators who the difference is they don't have a motor connected to the throat. So they don't have any manifesting power. Their strategy is to respond. and they are meant to stay active. So they're meant to be doing the things that they love, to be going about their day, and their aura will bring to them the things that they are meant to respond to. And then they respond, they can be initiated through their response, their sacral response, into action. And they're meant to do what they love. And then manifesting generators, they have the same thing. They have a defined sacral and they have that life force energy, but they have a motor center. So it could be the sacral or it could be one of the other motors. I won't get into all of it, but it could be any motor in the body that's connected to their throat center. So they do have manifesting power. Their strategy is to respond. So when something comes into their auric field that they respond to, they're able to respond immediately and then to manifest. So they're very powerful. And I think that our society is kind of built around assuming that everybody has the power of a manifesting generator, which we don't. And that's okay, because we are all meant to be exactly how we are. We're meant to be unique and different. And the thing that I love about human design is it shows us how we're all meant to work together. So learning your own type is absolutely incredibly eye-opening and validating, but it's also really nice to learn other people's types, because then you can learn how to work in a group or in a marriage, or if you're raising children, you can really learn how other people's energy signatures work and how to hold space for other people really well. So that's what I love about it.
So good. I really feel like there's just so many things about human design. It's really hard to like encapsulate it into like a description. You are a projector, right?
I am a
You're
projector.
a projector, and I am a generator. And something that I experienced when we had our reading together is you told me that I have an emotional something.
You have an emotional authority.
Emotional authority. That's what it is. And I always used to think that the highs and lows of emotion that I would experience like were really wrong. It was like I should not be experiencing these highs and lows and all this stuff. But then you kind of confirmed it for me that no, that's just a part of your design. And it's actually how you're supposed to kind of use it is to look for the calm and the neutrality. And that's how you know it's time to act or take action on. Because what I would usually do is I would usually be in like heightened emotion and be like really excited or really upset or something, and then act from that place and make all my decisions from that place. And then I would feel like shit because I would regret it. It's like kind of like if I'm really excited hanging out with somebody and then I'm like, we should do this together. And then the next day I'm like, oh, I really wish I didn't make that plan.
I do that too.
It's kind of like that. Whereas like I trust myself, but sometimes my emotions can cloud the judgment that I have. So I had to learn how to come to that neutral place. And that was something I've been unconsciously doing. So when you indicated that that was actually a thing in my human design, I was like, oh my God, like that's so crazy, because that's exactly something that I have been working on. How do you think that people who are working within their human design, how do you think this ties into like imposter syndrome?
So human design teaches that we all have our very own unique design, and it's so detailed. And what I love about the detail is how much individuality does that provide for each of us, that none of us are meant to be the same. So I think people are starting to become aware of human design, which is really, really good, because it helps us to take ourselves out of that comparison that can be so hard. Like I said, you know, being a manifesting generator is kind of like the status quo. Everybody expects everyone else or ourselves to have that manifesting generator power. And so when you're comparing yourself, just like I talked about early on, like I've had coaches who were manifesting generators and they'd be like, do this, do this, do this, do this. Here's your 30-page launch plan. I was just like, oh my God, something is wrong with me, because I would try over and over again to make myself do it. And with every launch, I would just crash and burn and then feel even shittier about myself. So me, before I found out that I was a projector, I felt so much imposter syndrome because I thought something was wrong with me, because I didn't understand how my energy worked. I didn't understand that I don't have consistent energy, and I'm not meant to. I've slowly learned to accept that about myself and really appreciate that about myself. But for the longest time, literally was like, I want to own a business, but I don't think I'm meant to be a business owner because I don't know how these people are doing it. Like, for example, like how does Jill show up every day on Instagram stories and talk? Like, because she's a generator and she's aligned and she's doing what she loves. And of course, it's not always easy, but you're following your energy there. Whereas if I try to do that, I am like completely burnt out. It puts me in my not self theme and it makes me not magnetic. So just learning to follow my design has helped me a lot to overcome the inner imposter, because that inner critic voice is like, oh, well, you need to be doing everything that everybody on your Instagram feed. Any given day, you might be comparing yourself to any person on there. And now I'm like, no, I need to be doing what's right for Jessie, because my gates and channels and my energy centers that are active, I know how to use that now to show up as me and to really honor myself. That's another tool in my toolbox to help me step away from it. I think if you don't know your human design, you should really find it out and put it to use in your business, because a lot of your imposter syndrome could just be that you're trying to operate as a different type and your energy doesn't work that way.
Bam. So true, because I feel like it's so specific too in terms of how you operate, how you're supposed to respond to things, how you create your energy. And like, it's true. I actually didn't really realize that when I show up and I'm super aligned, like it feels a certain way. Like I can feel that it's different and it's aligned and I feel good and I feel connected. But then there are times when I'm like, oh, fuck, I really don't want to show up, or I just don't know exactly how I want to say something. And I know that if I just lean back and just like wait for it to come to me, that responding type of thing, then I'm like, oh, this is how it's supposed to come through. Now, like we could talk about the logistics around you should be showing up in a consistent way, but like consistency also means like consistency in your message, but also like consistency can be defined however you need it to be defined. It doesn't have to be all day, every single day. And I think that's something that you exude, because you show up when it's aligned and when it feels good and when you have something to say and you're consistent with what you're talking about. And that's how you use your design.
It is a labor of love. Like it's me really intentionally every day being like, is the energy there? And if it's not, then the hardest thing is just accepting that and being like, okay, I'm going to honor that. And we'll just try again. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but it might be like after I have dinner tonight, then maybe I'll feel that, like, then maybe that'll feel good. So just taking it moment by moment.
So good. Well, there's just a lot. So if you guys really do want to hear about your design, hear way more about it, you can find Jessie where?
You can find me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Gibson-Jones. You can come hang out with me. I post reels and information about human design pretty regularly. And I also have a podcast. It is Ritual Rising Podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah.
And if you would like a reading, how can they do that?
So if you come and hang out with me on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio and you'll be able to book your ritual alchemy session with me. And we can look at your human design in depth and look at all your energy dynamics and help you plan rituals that will get you in alignment, helping you to actually live your design, because the information can be so overwhelming if you just get your chart. And I am speaking from experience, because I was like, oh, I don't know if I want a reading. And so I was like, I'm just going to like find this stuff out on my own. And over like a year and a half, I slowly like figured everything out about the chart. And then I was like, wow, I know it so well now that I'm just going to share it with everybody. But yeah, the ritual part is so important, because you want to take the information and not just like know it and set it aside and forget about it in 3 months, but put it into use every day, and really learning how to use your strategy and authority to put you in alignment with your highest self, with your energy, to make your business work for you, and to also to start, letting go of the conditioning that can be tied to the inner imposter.
Yeah, because I feel like with human design, there's a lot of information, and how I've struggled in the past, because you were the third person who I've had a reading with, and I just felt so much more clear and defined, and oh, this is how I use it, this is how I am. And I find that sometimes we can have all that info on the chart and not actually know how to interpret it and how to use it. So I love that you actually have rituals and stuff that you can do every day to incorporate into your life.
If you're not going to start actually like using your strategy and authority, it's almost like there's not much point in learning all the information. You're just going to confuse yourself, I feel like. So the most helpful thing and the highest expression of human design is to learn how to incorporate it and learn how to use your energy. And man, it can be such a complete game changer once you do. Just like you said, just that one thing about learning that your authority was emotional and how that works for you. And you've had it for maybe a week and you're already like incorporating it, I love hearing that. It's so awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So thank you so much for being here and talking all about human design, incorporating a little bit of imposter syndrome in there. And thank you so much for talking about the worthy woman. I'm so happy to have you inside.
Oh man, I'm so happy to be in there. And I really appreciate you having me on today. It was so much fun.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. That is the podcast episode with Jessie Gibson-Jones, my client in the Worthy Woman Method. I'm pretty sure I said Jessie Jones Gibson in the beginning, but that's okay. She knows how much I love her, and she's just so good. You need to go and book a human design reading with her ASAP. It was absolutely amazing. And just a reminder that the Worthy Woman Method is reopening its doors for enrollment in the beginning of November. So as you're listening to this, you can head over to the waitlist and sign up and save $222 when we reopen those doors in November. And this is the lifetime access group coaching program that focuses on mindset for business owners. Overcome imposter syndrome, your fucking mindset blocks, everything that is getting in the way of having the business and life of your dreams. So you can go to the link in my show notes again, get on the wait list, and save that $222 on enrollment when we reopen the doors. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Check out the show notes to get started on your free 3-day challenge to overcome your inner imposter. Once you're done listening today, screenshot this episode and share it to your Instagram story, tagging me at YourCoachJill so I can share it on my page. See you next time.